focusing on some of the features that we feel are really applicable to the IME insurance space and will be helpful for the case management solution. So I'll be focusing on that, but you can look at a detailed list of all the features if you go to our wiki on SmartSimple and you click on the upgrades. Let me just navigate back. So if you go into wiki.smartsimple.com and you'll click on the upgrades, and then in there, there is an article about the upgrades and all the details are available here. So feel free to have a look at this and you'll get all the information that you need. And there's also a video that we also shared in the recent notification that went out along with the video from our development team. They had put together this video, so this is going to be helpful, and it mainly focuses on the features that will impact and will affect the front-end users who are actually performing day-to-day activities, as well as important highlights of what system admins will see when they log in. So let's get started. In this session, so the first and the foremost that I'm excited about was the feature that was launched last time in the previous upgrade on November, and there was a lot of feedback that we received around that feature. So that feature, as you all have seen, and it was something where a lot of feedback was around the challenges and the limitations of how you work with the documents. And on the claim file that you see, you have it could be up to 50, or in some cases up to 100 documents. And viewing those documents was not very user-friendly after the release of the last feature. So I'm opening a claim file here, and we're looking at the attached files and documents. Right now, if you have uploaded documents, they look like this in a box. And imagine if there are about 50 to 100 documents, you have a lot of scrolling to do. So this was not something that was, very user-friendly. So we've changed that. We've reverted it. In this, we've actually enhanced the way it looks. So now you have both the options. When you log in and you're looking at any upload field, here you have the option to view it as a list view. So the way we previously had, with an addition that you see these 3 dots, there are more options available now. When you click on these 3 dots, you have now the option to delete a file if you have the permission, that is, and you have the option to rename a file. So for example, if I want to rename this file, I don't have to, previously you had to download, rename, and then upload back again. So that was quite a few steps. Now you can just rename it on the fly. And so if I just rename it signatures, med report, and then I need to save it. The name has been renamed, and you don't need to download and then re-upload the file. So that's one of the enhancements, as well as bringing back the list view that we did. The other is the grid view. So the previously released view is also available if you choose to view the files in that format, but you also have the list view available to go through all the documents. So the date and time stamp, as well as the size stamp that we previously had, that is still there, but the options now available to rename the file. So that's one of the features that I was quite excited about, because we really wanted to get that in. The second feature that I'm going to focus on, Simon, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there are any plans to bring back the console view, because I know with my users it really helped that we didn't have to constantly re-download a file to review it. We just had the console pop-up window to view documents that way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let me make a note of that, Simon. And we'll definitely. Sorry?
Thank you.
It's a beta.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Hi, Vida. Yeah. Let's make a note of that. Sorry to do that. Okay, thanks. All right, so let's switch back to this. Some of the other changes include when you are adding new users. So I'm just looking at this document here so that I don't focus. So, okay. So the other change, deprecation of a user type. So you know how when you're creating new users in the system, and you're in the roles and access window, this is something that the system admins usually do, or people who are designated as user admins. So when you're in somebody's profile and you're in the roles and access, trying to give them access, this page has been updated now. So you see how we had the access type as, you know, there were 2 or 3 listed, and the access also listed user, local admin, and global admin. We've now deprecated that, and we've left it only to global admin. So there are only 2 options: either you're a user or you're a global admin. And you'll also see that some of the extra options are hidden under the advanced options now, because those were not, you know, really used so often. So if I switch it on, you'll see the changes that the access type here, the user access, API access, and no access is enabled. So people who have, you know, when you create an account to do some API configuration and push some of the reports and connect to your website, all that requires an API access. So you can enable that by enabling this type of access. And then when you disable a user or deactivate them from the system, you can just change it to no access. So that remains the same. And you can make anyone global admin by toggling this setting here. And then the rest is the same. So you get a list of all the roles that you are permissioned to update on anyone's profile, and you can just select all those roles and then, you know, apply those permissions. So that's another change from the user admin standpoint. Okay, going back. The configuration pages have been simplified. So this is another change that we've brought in. What that means is that when you're looking at the field type, so those of you who create fields and, you know, play with the, you know, the field settings a lot, the field pages are now updated. So when you go into any of the fields, let's just open one field here. So you see we have all these tabs available. There are some settings that have been now moved under classic options. The classic options name using the tab name or any custom HTML tag that you would put in. People are nowadays using the title bars that are converted to tabs. So these tab names are really not used as much. So for that reason, we've moved it under the classic options. It's not deprecated. It's still being used, but it's pushed into the classic options tab. And then the rest of the settings under the permissions and availability, you'll see are also simplified to reduce you know, some of the confusion, because now as we have more and more projects that are deployed, we have more and more system administrators who are now you know, managing their system. So we need to really make sure that the configuration and the settings pages are also simplified, not just the front end. So under the roles and permissions, if you remember, we had the allow view and deny view and deny modify. So these are also sort of simplified in the sense that you can enable or disable the roles by just, you know, going in and setting up these permissions here. The visibility options, where you could put in some script, are pushed to at the very end of the page, because not every field requires visibility condition. And previously, if you remember, the visibility conditions were at the top. So if I was to go in to what you see currently in the system, I'm just going to go into the settings page on the production, which is not yet upgraded. So the same field, you see there is no classic option available, and the visibility condition is right at the top. We've actually pushed it down to the bottom, just from the usability standpoint. And under the general settings, you'll see that, you know, the display order, which is currently, if you're looking at the page, the display order is hidden somewhere in amongst the rest of the settings. Under the display section, we've actually moved it up, because when you're creating a field, the first couple of things that you want to do is give it a field name, select a field type, put a caption if you want to have a different name, then the field name, and then put a display order. So these make sense to be put together. So just changes around, that setting page to put together those options and the settings that make more sense and are more frequently used compared to the settings like the visibility condition that are not frequently set towards the end of the page. So nothing has been removed, but we have just modified the page to make it more user-friendly. The other big change here is the field type are now, the field type names have been revised and updated with addition to some of the other changes, like if you remember the text box single line. If you were to create a new field and you want to create a date type field, currently what you do is as system admin, you go into a text box single line, you select that, and then if this is meant to be a date field, you scroll down to the formatting section. Under the validation, you select date, and then you save that for this field now to appear as a date type field. This has now changed. The revision now includes, if I create a new field, we get more options available. As you can see, the field type list now is also categorized. So common input fields are put together. It's not just one list that you run through, and then all the fields where you can do some computation or there is some pre-processing that happens are also put together under this. If there is any special input types, like the dynamic control fields, as you are quite familiar with, where you select an option from the drop-down, based on that, some set of fields appear, and then based on various options, different set of fields appear. So those type of fields have been put together under the special input types. And then we have the display control types, like the web page views. All the OCF forms are, good examples. So the display control type is where you're just pulling the values from another field. So this is just display only, like the previously called read only field, where it does not really store any value. It's just pulling a value from another field and just for the display purpose. So that was, and that includes the title bar as well, which just adds a section between the fields on the page. So these are all put together. So now looking at the list, it's much more intuitive in the sense that when you're trying to pick a field type, you would know just by looking at their name that am I creating a control type field or a read-only type field, or is this where I'm expecting the user to enter some values. And then there are special control type, the web page view and the MS Word merge that you're quite familiar with. So all the OCF forms and all the Word forms that we put on the system are all going to be these field types. And in case you're putting in a browser script, which we always try to keep away from, because the more scripting, the more liability for testing at the time of the upgrade. So, and then all the classic types, like all these lookup, when you're looking up external people, internal people, any other lookups or any autosave, these have been put under the classic types. Now, going back to the input fields, so what I was just showing you in the text box, where you had to use the text box single line and then under the validation select the date, we've actually separated those out as individual field types. So now if you ever want to create a text box, a field which is a date type, you just select text box date. And if it is meant to be an email address so that it runs that validation, whether the user is entering a proper email address or not, you can use this field type. So based on we've actually broken down these validations. I've just switched back to the production server. So whatever you saw under the validation type here, we've actually separated those out as individual field types, which makes it much easier because then you don't have to remember to set the validation type, and just by the list you know what you're going to pick, and it's much more friendly here. Okay, any questions so far around this? I don't know who else is on the line, but I know Simon and Abiza, you do a lot of configuration work, and you've been looking at all these field settings, and you're quite familiar with that. So it definitely makes sense to discuss that. Any questions? Do you like it? Any quick thoughts?
I guess I'll use it. I'm not as techy as Simon, so I'll use it and I'll let you know how I feel about that.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna give it a shot. I think it does definitely save on some space. It just definitely gives me an idea of other things that I might recommend in terms of making configuration easier for the system admin. But I can save that for maybe the end of this, or like a conversation outside.
Okay.
Well, this is Intact here. It's Marilyn Newman, and I'm going to ask, just because I've never been to one of these, and this is all quite foreign to me. I've actually never seen the SmartSimple application at all, and I know Janos is not on the line. This sort of thing that you're talking about, these simplified configuration pages and setting up the admin tabs and that sort of thing, is that something that is done by our IT department, or is there somebody within the business that does this?
No, so the configuration pages are something that anyone who has a system administrator role and the global admin access will be doing. So not the end user, not the business, but anyone who, if there is an individual designated to be the IT support for the application, and they have the right access and permissions, they will be able to do that. But for Intact, in particular, the settings and the configuration changes that we've been seeing over the period of time have been mostly done by SmartSimple. And the other important point with regards to Intact is because Intact is on their own server, so the upgrade is entirely controlled by the Intact team, and so they can decide whenever their system needs to be upgraded, and that's when SmartSimple will go ahead and apply this upgrade that we are looking at today.
Okay, that's encouraging. So there is somebody that you deal with at Intact IT in terms of the upgrade?
Usually my point of contact is Janos, and Janos then helps to redirect the request to the right department.
Okay, thank you.
And Denise is also another contact. So, okay.
Denise?
Yeah.
Beckles?
I can send you the name. I don't have.
Yeah, would you please? I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So the next item is simplified user creation and modification, which is what we just saw in terms of the roles and access and the advanced options. And I already showed you the enhanced file upload interface that we looked at. So the grid view and the list view both available with the option to rename the file. The other relevant ones is this, the new hierarchical record navigation bar, which is, in general terms, commonly known as breadcrumbs on the pages. So I'm opening a file here. So you see this, these are the breadcrumbs. So when you go into any service, let me just create a new one. So if I'm on the level 2 on the service level, I have the option to just navigate back to file or back to my original list view from these breadcrumbs. The other option is to go into options and then say show file, but this is much more convenient. You just see it on the top, and then wherever you are, you can actually navigate to the others. Okay, so if I click on this, this will bring me back to the list view that we were on. So navigation, in terms of navigation for the front-end user, this is also another user-friendly introduction on the page. The other thing, sorry,
Mike, I do have a question on that note.
Yeah.
In the past, I guess before the last upgrade, when we were on that level 2 and people will add a new service, when they hit save, it will take them back to the claim automatically, showing them that the line had been saved. So with the last upgrade, what I've been challenged with is when they hit save, nothing happens. It appears that system has just kind of gone into a lag. So people keep hitting save, and the next thing I know is they've saved like 20 lines, but the system doesn't really indicate that anything has happened after saving. So there needs to be some sort of indication. Like I know now they have the option of going back instead of hitting the back key or whatever, but really, so if you go back, once that service is created, is there an indication that that service was created successfully? Because that's what the users had been used to for years. And suddenly that got changed. And I can tell you on a weekly basis, I'm at least going into 5-6 claims deleting lines because people feel that you know, the system was lagging and I just hit it 10 times.
So, so help me understand here, Bida. So if you're on a file, on the level 1,
yeah,
and then this is where you create the new service?
Yeah, I'm still in the classic mode, so you can create, so let's say if you create a new service, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you want that to be, you can hit save.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm on the service page.
Okay, so it stays right there.
Right.
So in the past, it used to go, as soon as you hit save, it will take you back to the level 1 and give you it'll show you the new line. You'll scroll down, you see the new line is there. So now, I'm not sure in the classic mode if it actually shows that it's being saved. Right now, like in this mode, it was showing that it's saved. In the classic mode, it doesn't show that it's being saved. So now, after saving it, this looks like we don't know what happened with this. So people are hitting save multiple times. And when you go back, it creates multiple lines.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
As soon as you hit save, it will take you back to level 1.
Yeah. If you have a ticket that you may have raised for this, Abida, feel free to send it over to me. I will take a look because I really want to see that behavior because that's not what the expected behavior is. So I'll have to look at it in the classic mode because that sounds like something you know, specific to the classic, because here, as we saw, it did save it, and because the way the classic and Arcadia are configured, you don't get to see the file right here. So if you have a ticket that was raised for this issue, just feel free to send me the ticket number and I'll take a look at it.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Since we are on this page, I want to show you another thing. So you see this, we are on the level 2. There are no breadcrumbs because this is in production. When I switch over to our backup where the production has been applied, you'll see the breadcrumbs. The other thing that is of interest, I'll show you so if you create a new service, I'm on the backup, on the production copy, you see the breadcrumbs are there. There's another thing which you'll find useful is that if I save this, on the level 2 page, if a user is working on this page and they just want to navigate and get some information from the level 1, the previous level or the file level, you can either click on this breadcrumb file, which will take you back to the previous page, and then you can navigate back into the service. The other user-friendly option that I want to show you is this. So you go into options and you say show file. What this does is it splits the screen into 2. When it splits the screen into 2, the right side is your level 2 where you're still working on, and on the left side is actually the view of the level above, the file level, where you can see the information. Like, for example, if I just quickly want to check the injury code or what was the nature of the injury, I see, okay, it was a whiplash, then I continue working on this page. And then when you've seen the information, you know what the information you were looking for, you can actually switch that back. So that is a very user-friendly option without having to navigate back and forth. You can actually have the screens split into 2 and look at the information right there. And we also have this doc available. So what the doc means is that if you really want to see other services while you're on a service, you can look at that. So while on one service, you can actually see other services. And if you have notes available, so if we were on the previous level, at the file level, because on all the insurance and IME copies, the notes are always enabled on the level 1. So the notes are here, and if I enable this doc, it gives me all the notes right here, and I can view the notes and add the notes and do whatever I need to, and then close out when I'm done. So that's another, split screen options available on each level where you can view multiple objects at the same time, just to add to, reduce the navigation, the time that you spend doing that. So that was the navigation bars. Okay. I believe we have another question, Simon.
I have a quick question about the that split screen. Does it default to that the next time I enter into another service level, or do I always have to click in that I want to go to option and then view file?
No, it won't default.
Okay.
Yeah. It won't
Okay,
default. Yeah.
Madalika, it's Maureen. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you just show us again what you did to pull the notes onto the level 2?
This is on the level 1. So let me just go into the notes are not on the level 2. However, if you are on a level 2 or on the service level,
yeah,
this is what you can do. So let's say I'm on the service level. I just want to quickly check what was the note that the insurer sent me. So I can say show file. Okay. Now I'm looking on the left side. I'm looking at the file. Now here, if I want to see the notes, I click on the notes and it shows me the notes. So these are the notes from the level 1 or the file or the case level. And then I'm still working on the level 2. So if I quickly want to navigate back to the file and look at the level 2, the notes from the level 1, I can still do that and review the note and then close out.
And this is only available on Arcadia, correct? Not on the Classic.
No, only Arcadia, because that's the functionality that can only be configured on Arcadia. All right. Moving on, there are some other minor updates that have been added. I can probably see that there's not much that are going to be relevant to the case management side of things, because ability to around the report builder, there is one. For example, when you're creating a report, I don't know how many of you really create reports. But if you do create reports, then in the reports, when you're working in the report builder, it now allows you to drag and drop the fields and the columns. So you can easily do that if you're using the new report builder for any report building activities. The split screen, we looked at it. There is also, if you're using system variables, there's audit history enabled. In terms of the rest of them, if you're using workflows now, there's also one enhancement that is going to be useful, and it's not just Arcadia specific, it's applicable to all. So if you have workflows, in the workflows now you can actually create and reuse the email templates. So if you have tasks where you're sending out emails, for example, there are now options available to send out the emails and select the message template. So if you click on the message template here, and you say, I want to send out an email. In the email, you can select the templates. So if I select the default template and I say insert, the template is already added. This was also one of the other requests that, sometimes we configure the email templates where we can use them for email broadcasts and other type of emails when being sent out from the system. But when it comes to the workflows and the workflow emails, we do not have the ability to use those templates that have already been configured, but now you do. You can select, this drop-down will populate with all the email templates that you've already configured, and you can just insert them and continue with the, any other minor edits that you may want to do on the workflow emails. So that's another good enhancement that we've made around the workflows. The rest are all, minor edits. On the login page has been revised, but I don't know if it is applicable because your login pages are already configured, unless you plan to, reconfigure it. So these are some of the options that we've added. The rest are around the translation, but I don't believe any of in our case management community people do use translation. But this is a page where you can actually look at all the details and look at all the other features that are available. And, you can watch this video as well, which also highlights some of the features that are going to be of interest to the actual end user, as well as some of the key highlights for the system administrators. All right, and I think that's all that I wanted to share today. If anyone has any questions.
Okay, I think we're good for now. Thank you so much everyone for attending this info session. If for example you have any more follow-up questions after this call, please feel free to reach out and send us an email. Thank you and have a good day.